Phase the First. The Maiden. Chapter 1. On an evening in the latter part of May, a middle-aged man was walking homeward from Shaston to the village of Marlott, in the adjoining vale of Blakemore or Blackmore. The pair of legs that carried him were rickety, and there was a bias in his gait which inclined him somewhat to the left of a straight line. He occasionally gave a smart nod, as if in confirmation of some opinion, though he was not thinking of anything in particular. An empty egg-basket was slung upon his arm, the nap of his hat was ruffled, a patch being quite worn away at its brim where his thumb came in taking it off. Presently he was met by an elderly parson astride on a grey mare, who as he rode hummed a wandering tune. "Good night, T," said the man with the basket. "Good night, Sir John," said the parson. The pedestrian, after another pace or two, halted and turned round. "Now, sir, begging your pardon, we met last market day on this road about this time, and I said, 'Good night,' and you did make reply, 'Good night, Sir John,' as now." "I did," said the parson. "And once before that, near a month ago." "I may have." "Then what might your meaning be in calling me Sir John these different times, when I be plain Jack Durbeyfield the haggler?" The parson rode a step or two nearer. "It was only my whim," he said, and after a moment's hesitation, "it was on account of a discovery I made some little time ago, whilst I was hunting up pedigrees for the new county history. I am Parson Tringham, the antiquary of Stagfoot Lane. Don't you really know, Durbeyfield, that you are the lineal representatives of the ancient and knightly family of the d'Urbervilles, who derive their descent from Sir Pagan d'Urberville, that renowned conqueror who came from Normandy with William the Conqueror, as appears by Battle Abbey roll?" "Never heard it before, sir." "Well, it's true. Throw up your chin a moment, so that I may catch the profile of your face better. Yes, that's the d'Urberville nose and chin, a little debased. Your ancestor was one of the 12 knights who assisted the Lord of Estremoeville in Normandy in his conquest of Glamorganshire. Branches of your family held manors over all this part of England. Their names appear in the pipe rolls in the time of King Stephen. In the reign of King John one of them was rich enough to give a manor to the Knights Hospitallers, and in Edmund II.'s time your forefather Brian was summoned to Westminster to attend the great council there. You declined a little in Oliver Cromwell's time, but to no serious extent, and in Charles II's reign you were made knights of the Royal Oak for your loyalty. Aye, there have been generations of Sir Johns among you, and if knighthood were hereditary, like a baronetcy, as it practically was in old times, when men were knighted from father to son, you would be Sir John now." "Ye don't say so!" "In short," concluded the parson, decisively smacking his leg with his switch, "there's hardly such another family in England." "Daze my eyes, and isn't there?" said Durbeyfield. "And here have I been knocking about year after year from pillar to post, as if I was no more than the commonest feller in the parish. And how long have this news about me been knowed, Parson Tringham?" The clergyman explained that as far as he was aware it had quite died out of knowledge, and could hardly be said to be known at all. His own investigations had begun on a day in the preceding spring, when, having been engaged in tracing the vicissitudes of the d'Urberville family, he had observed Durbeyfield's name on his waggon, and had thereupon been led to make inquiries about his father and grandfather, till he had no doubt on the subject. "At first I resolved not to disturb you with such a useless piece of information," said he. "However, our impulses are too strong for our judgments sometimes. I thought you might perhaps know something of it all the while." "Well, I have heard once or twice, 'tis true, that my family has seen better days afore they came to Blackmore, though I took no notice o't, thinking it to mean that we have once kept 2 horses where we now keep only 1. I've got a wold silver spoon and a wold graven seal at home too. But Lord, what's a spoon and seal? To think that I and these noble d'Urbervilles were one flesh all the time. 'Twas said that my great-grandfer had secrets, and didn't care to talk of where he came from. And where do we raise our smoke now, parson, if I may make so bold? I mean, where do we d'Urbervilles live?" You don't live anywhere. You are extinct as a county family." "That's bad." "Yes, what the mendacious family chronicles call extinct in the male line, that is, gone down, gone under." "Then where do we lie?" "At Kingsbere sub Green Hill, rows and rows of you in your vaults, with your effigies under Purbeck marble canopies." "And where be our family mansions and estates?" "You haven't any." "Oh, no lands neither?" "None, though you once had 'em in abundance, as I said, for your family consisted of numerous branches. In this country there was a seat of yours at Kingsbere, and another at Sherton, and another at Millpond, and another at Lulstead, and another at Welbridge." "And shall we ever come into our own again?" "Ah, that I can't tell." "And what had I better do about it, sir?" asked Durbeyfield after a pause. "Oh, nothing, nothing, except chasten yourself with the thought of how are the mighty fallen. It is a fact of some interest to the local historian and genealogist, nothing more. There are several families among the cottagers of this county of almost equal lustre. Good night." "But you'll turn back and have a quart of beer with me on the strength o't, Parson Tringham. There's a very pretty brew in tap at the Pure Drop, though to be sure not so good as at Rolliver's." "No, thank you, not this evening, Durbeyfield. You've had enough already." Concluding this, the parson rode on his way, with doubts as to his discretion in retailing this curious bit of law. When he was gone, Durbeyfield walked a few steps in a profound reverie, and then sat down upon the grassy bank by the roadside, depositing his basket before him. In a few minutes a youth appeared in the distance, walking in the same direction as that which had been pursued by Durbeyfield. The latter, on seeing him, held up his hand, and the lad quickened his pace and came near. "Boy, take up that basket. I want 'ee to go on an errand for me." The lathe-like stripling frowned. "Who be you, then, John Durbeyfield, to order me about and call me boy? You know my name as well as I know yours." "Do you? Do you? That's the secret. That's the secret. Now obey my orders and take the message I'm going to charge 'ee with. Well, Fred, I don't mind telling you that the secret is that I'm one of a noble race. It has been just found out by me this present afternoon, P.M." And as he made the announcement, Durbeyfield, declining from his sitting position, luxuriously stretched himself out upon the bank among the daisies. The lad stood before Durbeyfield and contemplated his length from crown to toe. "Sir John d'Urberville, that's who I am," continued the prostrate man. "That is, if knights were baronets, which they be. 'Tis recorded in history all about me. Dost thou know of such a place, lad, as Kingsbere sub Green Hill?" "Yes, I've been there at Green Hill Fair." "Well, under the church of that city there lie—" "'Tisn't a city, the place I mean, leastwise 'twasn't when I was there. 'Twas a little one-eyed blinking sort of place." "Never you mind the place, boy, that's not the question before us. Under the church of that there parish lie my ancestors, hundreds of 'em, in coats of mail and jewels, in great lead coffins weighing tons and tons. There's not a man in the county of South Wessex that's got grander and nobler skeletons in his family than I." "Oh?" "Now take up that basket and go unto Marlott, and when you've come to the Pure Drop Inn, tell 'em to send a horse and carriage to me immediately to carry me home, and in the bottom of the carriage they be to put a noggin of rum in a small bottle and chalk it up to my account. And when you've done that, go on to my house with the basket and tell my wife to put away that washing because she needn't finish it, and wait till I come home, as I've news to tell her." As the lad stood in a dubious attitude, Durbeyfield put his hand in his pocket and produced a shilling, one of the chronically few that he possessed. "Here's for your labour, lad." This made a difference in the young man's estimate of the position. "Yes, Sir John, thank ye. Anything else I can do for 'ee, Sir John?" "Tell 'em at home that I shall like for supper, well, lamb's fry if they can get it, and if they can't, black pot. And if they can't get that, well, chitterlings will do." "Yes, Sir John." The boy took up the basket, and as he set out the notes of a brass band were heard from the direction of the village. "What's that?" said Durbeyfield. "Not on account o' I." "'Tis the woman's club walking, Sir John? Why, your daughter is one of the members." "To be sure, I'd quite forgot it in my thoughts of greater things. Well, vamp on to Marlott, will ye, and order that carriage, and maybe I'll drive round and inspect the club." The lad departed, and Durbeyfield lay waiting on the grass and daisies in the evening sun. Not a soul passed that way for a long while, and the faint notes of the band were the only human sounds audible within the rim of blue hills. End of Chapter 1.